Hello, hi. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? You good? You good? You good? I am going to buy Doritos and avocado and some cherry tomatoes and a red onion, and I think I can do it with this. This is 50 rand, which is like 2.7 dollars. So I think I can get a bag of Doritos, the party pack, the big one. I can get at least one red onion, and I might wait. Priorities. I can get the Doritos. I can get the avocado. I can get so Doritos 20 something rand, maybe touching 30. The avocado has to be less than 10 rand. I can get the red onion. I might have to mize the cherry tomatoes. I've got tomatoes in the fridge, so I might have to sacrifice the tomatoes. It's cool. It would have been nice to get fresh tomatoes though. I want like cherry tomatoes. I didn't want like a regular tomato, just to see how it tastes. Well, yeah, this is what 50 rand can get you. It's not bad. But yeah, anyway, today's Saturday. Oh, hope you're well. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. Hope you swell. Hope you're wavy. Hope you're wavy. Hope you're gravy. I make music. I'm doing a song a day. Trying to drop a song a day until the end of the year. I drop 7 songs every Friday. Every Friday, 7 songs. So, link in the description if you want to check that out. In the description if you want to check that out. Today's Saturday, so you know it's Bible study day. We're going through the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel, the story of David. It's been good. The last chapter. What happened in the last chapter? What chapter are we on? We're on chapter 27. So chapter 26, David spared Saul's life again. So he snuck into Saul's camp. Saul had his spear next to him. David picked it up. He also took this jug of water that was near Saul as well. And he wanted to show Saul that I could have killed you, but I didn't. And evidence is, where's your spear? Where's that water that was next to you? I think it was a jug of water. I can't remember what it was. Because Saul's been trying to kill David, and David has done nothing wrong. So David keeps trying to show Saul that he's the one that's crazy, not him. Because he keeps sparing Saul's life, and Saul keeps coming after him. It's insane. So chapter 27, David flees to the Philistines. This guy cannot catch a break. When is this going to be resolved? Well, so let's get started with the chapter. And David said in his heart, now I shall perish someday by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape to the land of the Philistines. And Saul will despair of me to seek me any more in any part of Israel. So I shall escape out of his hand. Okay, so it says this is the notes. The sad story of 1 Samuel 27 begins with something David said in his heart. He may have never said it out loud. He may have never said it to anyone else. He may have never said it to God, but David said it in his heart. What we say in our heart has a tremendous power to shape our thinking, our actions, even our whole destiny. How do we know what he said in his heart? Did he disclose this to someone? So yeah, he's just tired, man. It's been moment after moment of persecution, and he's tired of Saul chasing him. He's tired of Saul trying to kill him. And you know, God has delivered him each and every time. So I guess the challenge is getting into that place of trust and being like, look, I made it out of this circumstance. I made it out of this circumstance. I made it out of this circumstance. I need to trust that I'll make it out of this one. You have to live in that place of rest and trust so that regardless of circumstance, you have peace. So trusting God and having that prayerful spirit and mind. But easier said than done, yeah? But that's why it's important to shift your gaze from the natural and towards the spiritual. Understand that. There's a higher power looking out for you. It says in the notes, David decided to leave Israel and live among the idol-worshipping Philistines. David was so discouraged that he thought there was nothing better for him in Israel and among God's people. Before, David trusted in the Lord to protect him from the hand of Saul. Now, David gave up trusting in the Lord and instead left the land of promise, left the people of God, and found protection among the Philistines. So it says here, Saul could never drive David to the Philistines. If Saul told David, you must leave the people of God and go to live among the Philistines, David would never bow to it. But discouragement and despair are more powerful enemies than Saul. Discouragement and despair will drive David to do something that Saul could never make him do. So yeah, like he's his own worst enemy in this instance. You gotta think about that in your own life. In what moments do you find yourself becoming your own worst enemies? You know, you might have obstacles here and obstacles there, and it can be easy to pin blame on certain things. But how are you getting in your own way of your own progress, your own success, in your own life? I think about that with myself. Like, what am I doing to hinder my progress, hinder my growth? Like with my channels, like at some point my channel wasn't grow, like the rate of growth had dipped, and I was like, oh, YouTube is hating on me. It's probably because I said something about this issue and that issue and some silly stuff like that, right? Who am I? I'm nobody. It's very improbable that YouTube is targeting my channel, even if it's through some algorithmic process, right? I realized that no, it's because my thumbnails and my titles had changed, and as soon as I went back to that old style of thumbnails and titles, and even the content, if you've noticed, this past week or two, my content has switched up a little bit. It's not switched up, it's gone back to the previous style I had, and you know, the views have gone up. It's more than what I had before. So sometimes you're in your own way, man. For real, for real. There's still many ways I could improve, but I hold myself accountable. At least I try to, as much as possible. Then David arose and went over with the 600 men who were with him. We will continue with the chapter. Then David arose and went over with the 600 men who were with him to Achish, the son of Moach, king of Gath. So David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, each man with his household, and David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelites, and Abigail the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's widow. And it was told Saul that David had fled to Gath, so he sought him no more. So Saul's probably thinking, oh, this guy gave up, he quit, he ran away, he's not a problem anymore, I don't have to deal with it anymore. That's what Saul's probably thinking. Yeah, David's giving up, he's letting his enemy win. So Saul is like, this guy's not a threat anymore, I've broken his spirits, I've made him run away. But also Saul, that's kind of, oh, that's not good, man. That's a slimy spirit. To have driven a man to that point where he's like, he's moved to this godless city. You've made him live amongst these godless people, and you've taken so much from him, and you're like, yep, finally done my job. Don't you feel guilty? Some people are just built different, man. So the notes say, David's discouraged and despairing heart didn't only affect himself. He led 600 men out of the land of promise to live with the ungodly. Before David sunk into his pit of discouragement and despair, he would never have dreamed of doing this. It's even worse because he took each man with his household. David's defection to the Philistines touched even more than 600 men. It touched all their families. It directly touched David's household also, because Ahinoam and Abigail were with him. Yeah, that's sad, man. You leave the land of promise and you go to live with the Philistines. The Philistines, that's where Goliath was from. Ugh. And that's who he's hanging out with now. So, people are being affected by this. It's not good. It's not good. That's why as a man, when you're the head of your family, you have a huge responsibility. You can't just be making decisions like this willy-nilly, man. You have to be smart. Because you're going to lead your family astray. The notes continue. Previously, David briefly went over to Achish of the Philistines, believing there might be a place of refuge for him. God allowed that experience to quickly turn sour, and David pretended to be a madman so he could escape. Remember, he was acting crazy and he had spit on his beard and he was scratching gates, and it seems he's forgotten about that adventure. In his discouragement and despair, David will go down a road of sin he has been down before. Achish received David this time when he would not, in 1 Samuel chapter 21, verse 10 to 15, for two reasons. First, it is clear now when it wasn't clear before that David and Achish share the same enemy, Saul. Second, David now brings with him 600 fighting men, whom Achish can use as mercenaries. With regards to Saul no longer pursuing David, it says, David accomplished his immediate goal because Saul stopped pursuing him, but now David is in a place of compromise that will leave him worse off than before. He's actually submitting to a Philistine master. We have no record of any psalms that David wrote during this time. This was not a high point in his spiritual life. In this period, David didn't write sweet psalms to the Lord. Yeah, who knows what happened during that period of his life, dude. Who knows what he was getting up to. It's important to remember, these are historical accounts. Like, these people existed, man. These things happen. You might question the supernatural elements of the story, but we learn through various historical documents that these people lived. And I remember like reading about how there's more people don't question that Julius Caesar existed, that he was a real person. Like, they just take that as fact. There's way less evidence of Julius Caesar existing than there is of Christ existing. Like, a person named Jesus Christ was on this earth at some point. Like, there's plenty of written documents they uncovered that spoke directly about a man named Jesus Christ. So it's way more evidence than we do of Julius Caesar, but no one questions Julius Caesar's existence. It's very interesting. So people believe what they want and disregard what they don't want, regardless of evidence. It's like, let's go for evidence, people. Let's look at evidence. What's the evidence saying? If the evidence is pointing in one direction, then okay, let's seriously consider that. If it's pointing in this direction, let's seriously consider that. So I do believe that these are people that existed, and that these are true stories. Then David said to Achish, if I've now found favor in your eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country, that I may dwell here. For why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you? So Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Therefore Ziklag has belonged to the kings of Judah to this day. Now the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was 1 full year and 4 months. So he was with those people for a year and 4 months. The notes say before, David never cared about finding favor in the eyes of a Philistine ruler. This is a great change in David. It's smart to hear David say to a Philistine ruler, your servant. David wanted his own city because he needed freedom to operate his own independent policy without being observed too closely. Yeah, because the Philistines. Yeah, who knows what they were getting up to in their culture and their society. So David was like, we need to be separate from y'all, so y'all can do you, and we can do us. Please. In David's mind, this isn't just a visit to the Philistines. He may say to himself that he'll someday return to Israel, but he isn't planning on a short stay among the ungodly. He wants to dwell there, and he did for 1 year and 4 months. Now David, his 600 men and their families lived in a completely new situation. They lived in a fortified city, a formal place of defense, but apart from God, they aren't safer in the city. So we continue with the chapter. And David and his men went up and raided the Geshurites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites, for those nations were the inhabitants of the land from of old, as you go to Shur, even as far as the land of Egypt. Whenever David attacked the land, he left neither man nor woman alive, but took away the sheep, the oxen, the donkeys, the camels, and the apparel, and returned and came to Achish. So the notes say the Hebrew word raided comes from the verb to strip, with the idea of stripping the dead for loot. You ever played video games? Like any RPG? You kill someone, you loot their bodies. I'm thinking Dark Souls, I'm thinking The Witcher, I'm thinking even the Harry Potter game I'm playing. I stopped playing that game, by the way. It's so boring. I paid a lot of money for that. Oh well. I'm thinking God of War Ragnarok, or the original God of War. Any of the God of Wars, really. Most of the recent ones. You kill and you collect loot. So David was out here, just real life RPG, building his stats, looting. You kill, you loot. David attacked these villages or encampments, killed some of the men, stripped them for treasure or armor, and robbed the people of the village or encampment. This was no way of life for a man after God's own heart. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's like... Yeah, that's a bit... Yeah, that's a bit mad still. It's kind of moving like bandits, or like the Mongols back in the day. You know the Mongols? What a crazy time to be alive. When the Mongols were running shit, they were running around. You're in your little village minding your business. The Mongols show up. Rah, 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 submit or still die. And then they just start taking all your shit and killing people. No play. Burning everything. David was on that tip, man. Robbing people. Taking their livestock. It says here, David hasn't totally turned against God and his people. For now, he only attacks the enemies of Israel. This probably gave David some comfort, but it is a small consolation to know that you aren't as bad as you possibly could be. I'm kind of a piece of shit, but it could be worse. It could be worse. So we see that David here is falling from grace. He's going through it. In his place of despair and desperation, he's doing terrible things. Even though he attacked the enemies of Israel, David was nothing more than an armed robber and murderer. He killed all the people of the village or encampment, took the spoil, and did it without the approval or guidance of God. He now fought wars for profit instead of for God's honor. Yeah, so the difference is from back in the day when David would fight his enemies, it was usually because they deserved it. They'd done something worthy of war. Maybe they were attacking and David and his army were retaliating, or they'd done something that required him to go out and defend God's honor. Now it's like he's just like, these people are minding their business and he's just like, hey. He just shows up and then kills and loots and does, but nah. That's not right, man. That's not right. The chapter continues. Then Achish would say, where have you made a raid today? And David would say, against the southern area of Judah, or against the southern area of the Jerahmeelites, or against the southern area of the Kenites. David would save neither man nor woman alive, to bring news to Gath, saying, lest they should inform on us, saying, thus David did. And thus was his behavior all the time he dwelt in the country of the Philistines. So Achish believed David, saying, he has made his people Israel utterly abhor him. Therefore he will be my servant forever. Damn, I never remembered this detail in the story. This is actually crazy. This is actually insane. David was really out here just killing people. Just out here like going to different villages and slaughtering and taking their shit. That's crazy. It says, and thus was his behavior all the time he dwelt in the country of the Philistines. He was there for 1 year and 4 months, man. So that period of time, he was a menace to society. David didn't lie to Achish because he was ashamed of what he did. He lied to gain favor with Achish. This is the notes. He knew the Philistine leader would be pleased to hear that David raided his own people of Israel. Oh, so it's with regards to David saying, because Achish would ask him, where did you do your raids? And David would say, against the southern area of Judah. So he was lying. Okay, that makes sense. So he would conduct his raids, I guess, amongst the enemies of Israel. And he would leave no witnesses. He would kill everyone so that these people couldn't run to Achish and say, David's doing this and David's doing that. So Achish didn't know, this little idiot. He didn't know what David was actually up to. David made Achish think that David was actually going against Israel when it wasn't true. He was going against Israel's enemies. I see. I missed that. It was smart, but still crazy. In these raids, David killed all the men and women, so his lie to Achish would not be exposed. Yeah. Much later in his life, David will have a far more notorious season of sin with Bathsheba. I don't want to spoil that for you if you've never heard the story. That's a crazy story. Though that later event is far more famous, the root of sin that nourished it began way back in 1 Samuel chapter 27, which is the chapter we're on. Yeah, I actually forgot about this. When people talk about David and his sins, they bring up the Bathsheba story more often, right? That's the big one because it's easier to point to that one. It's a more isolated incident. And it's a bit more salacious and like, just dramatic. But I feel like this is pretty bad, if not worse. I don't know, man. This seems a bit, because this was sustained for 1 year and 4 months. Maybe not exactly 1 year and 4 months. They had to get there and settle down and whatnot. But this happened for 1 year, give or take. Which is insane to think about, man. He was killing people and robbing them. Not good. Not good at all. I have low battery too. I think, can I finish this chapter before my battery runs out? We'll see. The notes, with regards to David lying to Achish and Achish believing him, the notes say, Achish felt he was in a good place. David was trapped in a web and Achish was the spider. Achish believed that David had forsaken all connection with the people of God. It all looked rather dark, but David had not and could not burn his bridge with God. The chapter continues. Now it happened in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for war to fight with Israel. So Achish said to David, You assuredly know that you will go out with me to the battle, you and your men. And David said to Achish, Surely you know what your servant can do. And Achish said to David, Therefore I will make you one of my chief guardians forever. David, the notes say, David had lied to Achish, telling him that he had raided the people of Israel. Now David is forced to live the lie he gave to Achish. Hold on, my throat is acting up. Oh, so now it's saying like, okay, you've been lying to Achish, making him think you've been attacking the Israelites when you haven't. So now Achish is taking you at your word and saying, let's go, let's get busy, let's get sturdy, let's kill some Israelites, baby. And David's like, oh, snap, okay, I guess. And he's like, in his mind, he's like, oh shit, oh no. Lying. Is he lying? Lying is a problem. With regards to David saying, surely you know what your servant can do, the notes say, here David seems completely surrendered to the ungodly Achish. He will fight for the Philistines against Israel. You might wish that David was really operating as a double agent and he planned to turn on the Philistines in the midst of battle. But the text gives us no reason for such an optimistic perspective. David has come to a very low place. To some degree, most Christians have been where David was in this backsliding state. We can understand what David was doing, but it was still wrong and was dangerous. There's a quote here, but it pleased God to leave David to himself in this, as well as in other particulars, that those might be sensible demonstrations of the infirmities of the best men, and of the necessity of God's grace, and daily direction and assistance, and of the freeness and riches of God's mercy, in passing by such great offenses. End chapter. Crazy. So David's in a bad place right now. He's about to go to war with his own people. Which is, I can't imagine that. I cannot imagine being in that position. I cannot imagine being in that position, man. And that last quote was a good one, because it shows you can take the best of us, think of the best person you know, give them wealth, give them power, give them fame, and see how they absolutely fold under that pressure and end up doing things you never thought they'd do, because power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think that's how the quote goes. So I think the scale of David's sin was proportionate to the amount of power and wealth and fame he had. When you're a regular person living a regular life, you might not do anything that crazy. So for a lot of us, it's easy to say, if I was in David's position, I would never do anything that's crazy. You're not in David's position. You don't know what it's like to be in charge of hundreds of fighting men and have the power at a moment's notice to say, this person slighted me, I'm going to go kill them. You have no idea what it's like to... He eventually becomes king. Oh my god, there's noise out. Yeah, you have no idea what it's like to have the power of a king and to command people to do what you want them to do. So it's easy for us to cast judgment and be like, I'll never do that. This is David. It says he was a man after God's own heart. This is probably as good as it gets in terms of human beings, and their nature and their spirits. Maybe not as good as it gets. I don't know. But this is a flawed person, just like anyone else is flawed. And he was tempted in many regards, and his life was hard. And he was in despair, he was depressed, he was afraid, and the king of his land was trying to kill him constantly. And he caved to the pressure, and he ended up doing very regrettable things, insane things. But I don't know how I would handle this. I really don't know. I can't imagine. Like, imagine if the president of my country wanted me dead. Like he couldn't stand me. And he gathered all these forces to hunt me down. He chased David across the land. Like, literally physically chased him. Like, it was insane, bro. So where David finds himself now, in this place of desperation, it's led him to lose faith. It's resulted in him losing faith and doing crazy things, which is unfortunate. I'm not saying that it's inevitable. I'm just saying that it's understandable. And what this quote says, it demonstrates the necessity of God's grace and daily direction and assistance, and the freeness and riches of God's mercy in passing by such great offenses. You need God. You can't do this on your own. You can't be this moral person. I'm just gonna lead by example, and I'm gonna trust the contents of my own character, and that's enough. That's crazy. We're all flawed, and we all fall short of the glory of God. His mercy, His kindness. So it's good to lean on the Lord, man, and trust Him, and listen to Him, and try your best, man. Try your best. That's all you can do, really. So I hope you learned something from that. I like to pray at the end of my videos just to impart blessing and peace and protection, all that good stuff. So let's get into it. Dear God, thank you for this individual watching this right now. Thank you for blessing them, making them whole, making them unique. I thank you, Lord God, that you're guiding them on a good path, one where they can keep their eyes on you and feel your presence, and spend time with you, so they know your heart, they know your desires, they know what to do and what not to do, and that you extend grace to them, so they feel like they have freedom, and they feel like they have space to breathe and be themselves, but also that you instill in them a desire to do good, a desire to a joy in doing what's right and what's holy. And I pray that they enjoy their life, like they have a genuine joy in their life and excitement, and they look forward to the day, they look forward to the people they get to see, they look forward to the things they have to do, and they're content. And you bless them with a grateful spirit, so they can take stock of all they have, and have gratitude and express that gratitude, and through that spirit of gratitude, they can attract even more blessings. So bless this person with abundance, with prosperity, with peace, with protection, good health, long life, and happiness over this person, over their friends and family. In your mighty name I pray. In Jesus' name I pray. Thank you, Lord. Amen. Amen. It's a good video today.